Well, hi, and thanks everybody for joining this month's Tech Talk series, episode number 10. It's a very important topic today. We're going to be talking about cybersecurity and how to prevent attacks. I am Joe Raffinelli. I am a director of technical solutions. I am here and we have partnered with two very experienced and talented executives in this space. I'm super excited to introduce my colleagues. We have Scott here, who's our chief security officer, and we have Todd, who is our security consultant. I want to thank you guys for joining. I want to give you guys a chance to say hello to everybody. Go ahead.
Yeah, Joe, thanks. It's great to be here. This is just such a crucial part of the business world today, and it's just great to be here and part of the Microsoft team. I think we've got a good structure in place to help the customers and help the businesses better with their cybersecurity.
Thank you so much for that. I'm going to hop right into this. So let's keep it simple, right? So what is a security breach and why is it significant concern for businesses?
A great question, Joe. A security breach, is the unauthorized access and disclosure and modification of sensitive data. It affects your systems. It affects your networks. It can affect all of your locations. It just really is a major concern for businesses because it can lead to serious financial losses, damages to reputation, legal repercussions, and companies have even gone out of business due to cybersecurity breaches.
Unbelievable what's going on out there. So what are some common attack methods that criminals use, to breach businesses and security?
Hey, Joe, I'll take that one. Criminals are using all kinds of smart tactics these days. Some of those attack methods include email phishing, your phone vishing, ransomware, social engineering on all of our social media platforms, uh, compromising weak passwords used by people, exploiting all kinds of known vulnerabilities in unpatched systems and applications out there. They're really using, a wide range of these tactics these days.
The bad guys are really getting into us, really getting into it. But so how do folks prevent something like this to take place?
Yeah, that's a great question. Preventing security breaches, it really begins with knowing your risks, right? Knowing what the risks are that your company faces currently, and you can and if you don't know, there's nothing wrong with that, right? You can engage a company such as Microsoft and we'll help you do a risk assessment and look at your environment and really figure out, where you're strong, where you're solid, where you may need some help and some remediation to identify your risks, vulnerabilities, potential threats that may exist behind the scenes. It all helps in developing a comprehensive security strategy, and then training, and I think you'll hear us really drive that home just in today's talk.
Makes sense. People need to understand what's going on out there. Lots of folks are kind of oblivious to what some of the bad guys out there. So what roles do employees have to take, and what roles do they play in preventing these breaches, or can
That's a
they play
great
in these
question.
breaches? Yeah,
That's that's a great question. The employees are really the first line of defense, right? That's where the email comes in. They're working from home. They're working remotely. They're attached through a VPN or some trusted remote mechanism back into the network so that they can do their day job. A strong cybersecurity culture is critical, right? It does involve, I just said this. It involves regular training of employees, raising their awareness about security threats, so that they know that even though they don't try to introduce a cybersecurity threat, it happens just as Todd said. Just bang in an email and they're phished, and it looks like it's from their boss and it's just a disguised email. And the criminals are getting very slick in the way that they do this. So really, the first line of defense is employees and making sure they know what they can do to help this cybersecurity initiatives across the board.
makes sense. You mentioned training. So what are some best practices in preventing these attacks?
Certainly. Some of the best practices would include making sure you're doing all of your regular maintenance, includes updating, patching software, firmware, and all those critical pieces of your systems. Next thing you want to do is get your users using strong passwords, unique passwords. make sure that those users are trained not to be reusing passwords they use for Target and Walmart and their social media sites again at work, that those are all unique passwords that are only being used in the work environment. And then, of course, implementing multi-factor authentication anywhere you can on top of those passwords to create a second line of defense on all of those accounts. And then once again, getting those employees trained again. We're going to say it over and over. Those employees are that first line to recognize an attack that's being pointed at them, and be able to avoid all those social engineering and phishing attacks that come their way. The other item that we brought up already is doing your risk assessments. And then once you know those risks, use those to do security audits and vulnerabilities and make sure that those items that are your biggest risks have the strongest security and least amount of vulnerabilities on them. And then we can go from there into making sure that you're encrypting your data at rest and in transit, so that if something does get compromised, that it's harder for them to get at that data, whether that's local data or an email you're sending to a customer or client. And then lastly, develop plans, on how to respond to any breaches that might come up. That's the other key piece there, is to be ready when it does happen.
All very important points. I mean,
Yeah.
not even just for businesses, also even for personal folks, because I know people get attacked like all the time. Thank you, gentlemen. What I wanted to do is see if we have some questions from the audience, and typically what we'll do is wait a few seconds here, see some folks have questions via the chat. So we'll give a pause and we'll read out those questions. Okay, great. We have first question number one. In the case of a security breach, what steps should businesses take?
Great question. In the event of a breach, a business should always immediately notify your IT department and company leadership. Let them know that you're, even if you're just suspicious that something's going on, right? There's no harm and no foul if nothing's happening, but immediately notify the IT department when you see an email that looks suspicious, or you receive some sort of a communication that looks suspicious. And also go to company leadership, directly to your manager, and just let company leadership kind of guide you through the process, right? First thing is to contain the breach. Just make sure that you get your arms around it, investigate, determine the scope and cause of the breach, immediately disconnect any network connectivity that you can, or, assist IT in that endeavor if they're instructing you. Notify affected parties within the company. Always let others in the company know that you've notified management, IT, so that they're aware. Remain calm. The best thing to do is remain calm. Let IT, let the company leadership kind of help guide through this. And then you remediate the damage and implement the necessary fixes to prevent a similar breach in the future. And then once this is all done and you're back and you've got the breach contained and you've done the cleanup and you've done the incident response, evaluate and update the security strategy that led you to being able to handle the breach or the incident, right? And that starts with a good incident response plan based on just ongoing. And then anytime you do execute your incident response plan, make sure that you do a lesson, post-mortem lesson learned, where you can readdress your plan, add to it, take away any of the successes, and make that strategy build. It's a living process going forward.
All great points, Scott. Thank you so much. Okay, let's see what else we got going here. Anyone else have a question to be posted? Okay, on chat. Okay, good. Okay, what are the key takeaways for businesses looking to prevent security breaches? Great question.
Sure. I would say some of the key takeaways are, to prioritize cybersecurity. It's one of the things that, doesn't always get looked at when people are looking at IT. So it's, big reminder to prioritize cybersecurity, in your culture. And then go and conduct your regular risk assessments, get those educated employees going. Make sure that they're always educated on a regular basis. Very critical. We keep covering that. The users are targeted so much nowadays. We want to make sure that those users are getting the training they need. And then just continually updating and improving your security measures. Nobody starts out with the best security out there. So it's always critical to build on those, year to year and day, and keep implementing those new protections and measures in place where you can. And then, preventing security breaches is an ongoing effort and responsibility for everyone in the company. You just have to keep getting everybody that training, move forward, and really make that the big culture in your company to have that training and that practice in place.
Great. That's a great answer, Todd. Lots of folks probably very interested in learning more about that. Okay, let's see if we have any more. Well, typically we'll have a few questions here. Okay, question number 3. If someone have a fresh website, what is important to keep in mind wait, no, I think, yeah. So if someone have fresh website, what is important to keep in mind to not get hacked?
I can go
That's a
ahead and
great.
take.
Go ahead, Todd.
Okay, I'll take that. So when you're building out a new website, right, before you publish, you want to make sure everything is secure before anybody can get access to that site. And so as those sites are built out, that security needs to be thought of ahead of time. Those measures should be put in place. There's lots of firewalls and protections that can go in front of your website so that all of that is monitored. And then you want to be careful of any services that you're putting into your website. Every plugin or feature that gets added is another plugin and feature that needs to be patched. WordPress is one of the most popular things out there nowadays that people are using left and right. And there's a million plugins for it. And you just have to be careful that those plugins you're using are being patched and security tested, and get all of those security measures in place before letting it out there for visitors.
Yeah, that's a great answer, Todd. And I'd like to just feed on that just a little more. In following with Todd's answer as far as just plugins and the design phase of it. Once it is designed and you've got it in before you release it and publish it out to the populace, it's always a good idea to do a little bit of penetration testing against that website,
Mhm.
right? The IP address, the URL, the DNS. Those are all tech speak, but those are things that you want to make sure that you do before you let this thing go into production and live, right? And that'll help keep the viewers safe as well. And there's a couple of ways you do it, right? It's not only pen testing against the network and the DNS of it, but you also pen test the code and the content, right? There's such a thing as OWASP, which is more of the web controls, the web featured controls, and Microsoft can help do those types of assessments as well, very economically and very quick. And those are the types of things that you want to do with your websites before you let them go live.
Very detailed responses, guys. Thank you guys so much. Let's just see. Okay, there's another one. Okay, so I'm great. It's great that we're getting all these questions. Okay, how do I get cybersecurity training for my employees?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's several really good vendors out there today that are very cost effective. They're
Mhm.
online. They're online focused. They provide you with training that's focused towards compliance for your business. Some in the healthcare, obviously, there's HIPAA, finance, there's PCI, SOX, GLBA. All these different compliances. So you can find one that kind of fits the need of your vertical of your industry, right? And set up your training with those. A lot of the train services now offer spam and fish testing and what they call vishing, where they'll even attempt to do dial-ins to your cell phones and to your office phones and to the cloud-based phone systems. So there's a lot of good social engineering trainings out there as well. So and the vendors are really good, and they'll do spam checking on your email for you, and they'll do simulated spam testing. So they're very, very cost effective. I mean, in the tens of dollars, not hundreds or thousands. And so there's a lot of good products out there, and we'd be happy to help anybody kind of work through some of those. I'm more a product agnostic and the right solution for the right business.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. Okay, let's give a few more seconds. See if any more questions. Okay, we're waiting there. Okay, no more questions. I want to thank Scott and Todd. Thank you guys so much for your expertise. Thanks everybody for your questions. They were all great chat questions. So thank you guys for sending those across. Okay, so the session was great. Hopefully everybody got what they wanted to out of this session. We're just touching on what these guys know. If you have any questions or you want to further discuss your cybersecurity needs, please contact me. You should see the contact information coming up there, which you do. I'll get these talented gentlemen to talk with you guys and go through everything, and we see if we can get you guys more secure. But for now, I want to thank you guys one more time, and thanks again, and take care and goodbye.